3 wide here on the backstretch. It's incredible.
Look at this battle here right now. What a great fight.
Sent it, didn't he? We return to road courses, the final one for the campaign as Season 2 comes to a close. Welcome to the Glen, Watkins Glen International, located just a 4 hours drive north of the Big Apple, New York City itself, as it hosts the 4th and penultimate round of the Tire Rack Road to Indy iRacing eSeries, presented by Cooper's Tires. I'm here alongside Rob Howden, the voice of Road to Indy. Rob, welcome back to Watkins Glen. And the question is, coming into this penultimate round, who can stop our championship leader, Phil Dennis?
Well, I think we have to probably look at 4 drivers right now. Of course, Braden Eves has been very strong. He's going to be the primary challenger. But I also think that we're going to see Andre Castro step back up again. Remember, got a victory at Lucas Oil Raceway. And a couple guys who have not yet tasted victory here in this particular E-Series, Christian Brooks and Hunter McElroy. I think both those drivers very comfortable on the sim. They're getting quicker and quicker. They could be ones to watch here today at Watkins Glen.
And we're ready to go for racing action. So for today's command, for our engine start command, is our title sponsor for this inaugural season, Matt Edmonds, Executive Vice President of TireRack.com.
Let's pray. Father God, we come to you today, quite honestly, in disappointment. Our schedule has been pushed back again, and we want to get the 2020 racing season started, and we're just getting kind of frustrated because we're unable to meet in person. We look forward to those days at the racetrack with each other. Lord God, we ask that you be with the healthcare workers during this virus struggle. Give them and us, quite honestly, hope in this situation. We look forward to our virtual race here tonight at Watkins Glen. Always a great track. We thank you for the blessing of one another. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
And now, our national anthem. Performing from Dallas, Texas, Russ Ruddock.
And now, apologies, that was, of course, today's Invocation that was presented to you as usual for every round of the Road to Indy series. Rob, we head back to an important part of the race now. We're getting ready for gridding, getting ready to show us action around Watkins Glen. Again, it's a circuit that when we visit is all about Slipstream. It's been unofficially nicknamed Slipstream City, as we know, because it makes such a huge difference. It's an oval race on a road course.
Yeah, one of the great things about Watkins Glen, as you said, primarily right-hand corners, but when we go down to use the boot, that'll make things very interesting. The draft playing such a huge role, as we expect always here at Watkins Glen. I like the fact there's a couple big hard braking zones as well. I think that's what separates the really quick drivers from those that may struggle a bit here on the iRacing platform.
And Greg, do we have you there? Greg DeGeorgis from Symmetric Driver Performance Labs.
Hey, Johnny, how are you?
I'm very well, mate. You've got our keys to the race as usual for today at Watkins Glen, and Rob and I were just discussing it. It could be a bit of an oval race on the road courses.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for the introduction, Johnny. As always, it's a pleasure to be back tonight to present my keys to the race. First and foremost, Downforce is the name of the game tonight. With Watkins Glen being such a large track with all medium and high-speed corners, it means that maximizing every ounce of available downforce will be critical to a fast lap time. This will be made more complicated by the fact that driving in close proximity to a car ahead means most of your downforce will be washed away, so it's likely that we'll see the field spread out after a few laps. Now, while it may be difficult to follow very close to a car ahead, drivers will have many passing opportunities available to them here at Watkins Glen. The biggest passing zone will be on the run up to the bus stop. Drivers will need to maximize the run out of turn 1, stay full throttle through turn 2 and up the hill through the S's, and then make a move to either the inside or the outside as they reach the braking zone into the infamous bus stop. Beyond that, other passing zones will be into the toe of the boot, the heel of the boot, possibly into the turn 9 left-hander back on the NASCAR chute, and maybe into turn 1. With so many passing opportunities, we're going to see a lot of trading places back and forth from lap to lap, so it'll be critical for drivers to time their pass to be in the best position as they take the checkered flag. Last, but certainly not least, maintaining focus and precision will be crucial for drivers to be successful. While the races are only 20 minutes long, there will be no pit stops, and full course yellows to regroup the field are extremely unlikely. So every fraction of a second that a driver can put on the car behind them will be invaluable. Beyond that, with corner speed so high due to the nature of the track, even the slightest mistake will likely lead to an off. And that's made worse by the fact that there is a very limited runoff space once you do leave the pavement, meaning contact with the wall is very hard to avoid. So drivers who can minimize mistakes and consistently put down fast laps will certainly be rewarded. Anyways, I have a sweet Corvette GT1 pace car to go drive now, so I'll leave it back to you guys. Thanks.
Yeah, good luck today, Greg. So let me tell you something. He's been doing a splendid job, Rob, of running the pace car each week, and he gets to do it again here from Watkins Glen. And you know what? I think it's time today to head to the grid and now to give our engine start command, not before, but officially this time for our inaugural season. As always, for every round is Matt Edmonds, Executive Vice President from TireRack.com.
Drivers, start your engines.
And now heading towards what's going to be a 20-minute race, the same format we've had all season, Rob. 2 20-minute races coming up. Of course, as usual, our pole sitter is Phil Dennis, and believe it or not, he will win our Simmetric Driver Performance Labs Pole Winner Award.
Well, let's just say it straight up. We know that Philippe's been amazing all season long, both in the first season, which he actually was able to win the championship there, and in the second season, he's been strong as well, has been able to work his way back up front if he's had issues. But another pole position for him, not only is a great driver outside in real-life racing, but he obviously is one of the best drivers we've seen, of course, on this platform here in the iRacing service. So, Philippe, a great run for him to qualify on that pole position. And again, ready to fire things up, and he will start from the spot he needs to be able to pull away early here.
And it's a very interesting grid come today's event. This is going to be a big one. So Phil Dennis on pole position alongside Hunter McElrea. McElrea's looked strong, the Kiwi, throughout the races this campaign. He's been a great addition to the front, along with Andre Castro, who's been ever improved, especially on the ovals where we know he's a master, but he'll be joined alongside Braden Eves. The championship challenge continues, Rob, between Dennis and Eves. They start first and fourth. Eves, though, needs to finish ahead of Dennis. So far, qualifying half a second behind isn't a good start to your evening.
Well, look at row 3, too, as well. Flynn Lazier coming off that great second-place finish at Lucas Oil Raceway behind Max Kaiser. He'll start 5th alongside Christian Brooks, again, a driver I'd said working his way up through the ranks into the USF 2000 program this year. That's Keon Tandy, young driver out of Southern California with J. Howard Driver Development. He'll start 7th. And Prescott Campbell, again, 3 exclusive Autosport drivers in the top 8, and they'll all be on the outside there. 4th for Eves, 6th for Brooks, and 8th for Prescott Campbell. Michael Myers trying to get a program put together for 2020. Talked to him earlier today with Legacy Autosport. He's going to see what he can do to get the full season in. And Jacob Luma's coming in for BM Racing. Going to round out the top 10, Jonathan.
The rest of the grid you can see on screen. So this is going to be, as usual, a pretty interesting event. I think the funny thing for this is with a short race, no pit stops required this round, Rob. The only thing we're missing, I think, now from the season is a pseudo Freedom 100 on the sim. I think that's one thing that we should be hopefully doing for the next week.
Oh, that's what I was thinking about actually over the weekend. Of course, we were supposed to be at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway this past weekend. I thought, man, wouldn't that be fantastic to grab these new cars and be able to potentially run at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, do a Freedom? I think that's what we need to have in that next season for sure. I would love that.
And there are our beautiful faces. Unfortunately, just one beautiful face, Rob. I'll try to match you on that throughout the rest of the broadcast. Greg DeGeorge is driving the pace car, doing a splendid job himself. We've got beautiful people all around.
Well, I'll tell you, this is going to be interesting because I think the big run down to turn number 1 is obviously going to be very interesting. Obviously, they're going to go 3-4 wide. You're able to go off the racetrack a little bit. That run the first time up through turns 2 and 3 could be pretty intriguing, as these drivers will have to be patient. Again, we keep preaching patience in these opening couple of laps. The drivers will be getting better and better, Jonathan, over the last number of races, and I think we're probably going to see a good race here as well.
And you and I are watching on a multitude of screens. I'm trying to keep track of the pace lap. I'm getting afraid that the race has begun. And they're already heading to what's known as the boot layout. So we're not using the NASCAR Cup course. This is a throwback to Formula One back in the 70s and the 80s.
I've actually had a chance to drive here at Watkins Glen. It's one of the tracks I've driven, and I really love the boot because it's that downhill run through. You got the car on its edge all the way into the hard-braking right-hander, back up through the hill. There's a couple of good braking zones, and as I said, that's the key here for obviously being able to pass overtakes in those hard braking zones. Turn number 1 will be like that, as we said, heading into the bus stop, the same. But I just love the fact that the boot brings 3 really good passing opportunities into play before they come back up out of the boot to turn number 10.
Here we go now. Greg DeGeorgis is going to take off. His day is hopefully done. We don't want to see the pace car again. Obviously, we want some clean racing. And he'll be sitting in the pits and enjoying the action, as will we. Penultimate round of the campaign. Will Phil Dennis walk away with the championship? He can mathematically wrap it up today, although it's going to be a tough asking for him. He'll need not a miracle, but we'll need things to go wrong for Braden Eves for sure. But if Eves stays within the clutches, we know how the ovals go for these drivers. Can be a lottery at times. Certainly was at Lucas Oil. And now, for our final road course of the season, it's time for Dennis to bring the field away. 20 minutes of action for race 1. Round 4, we are going to go green from the Glen.
Drivers on the throttle, green, 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 racing now down into turn number 1, 2, 3, 4 wide through turn number 1.
And Eves sails past, possibly into second from 4th. He's going to have to dice with Castro, and they've got to be careful not to let Phil Dennis run away. Eves had a peek at second, and now he could fall back to 5th after running wide at turn 1.
I think the thing you said there was key. They cannot let Philippe Dennis get away. Castro to the bottom of the racetrack. To the outside, pokes out Hunter McElroy, the Pabst Racing driver. 2 wide, all the way down to the bus stop for the first time. Everybody's searching for room. They're getting their way through there. The 51 now in there, Toby Sowery. Great to see Toby here with us. Second-year driver in Indy Lights, Jonathan, this year. He'll be running with Bilardi Auto Racing. He actually, his first race was supposed to be Lucas Oil, but he didn't qualify in. We only took 24 drivers. He actually got a speeding penalty on pit lane, punching off too early, and was not able to get a lap in qualifying. So this is really his first weekend, so we'll be watching him in that number 51.
Brilliant start to lap 1. Eves, though, has got to be careful here. Really thought he had a monster getaway, and he did. Just couldn't nail it through turn 1. No grip there on outside the racetrack. Here's Toby Sowery, as we discussed, down in 5th, up 1 spot. Past Flynn Lazier. Don't forget, Max Case is also in for the championship too, but he's never fared well on the road courses. Case are all the way down in 15th. You can see just in the back end of the order there. Right behind Peter Dempsey, the former Freedom 100 winner. And Rob, we got a good look at that the past week. You sent me a good clip about Peter Dempsey talking about his Freedom 100 victory and what an iconic moment that was.
Indeed it was. He kind of walked his way through the fact that he wasn't able to really get a run. Probably wasn't in exactly the place he needed to be able to get that race win, but as they started racing in front of him, went 3 wide, he was able to make it exciting. Great to have him here as well. Of course, Peter Dempsey, the owner of Turn 3 Motorsports, expecting to have a couple of drivers potentially this year. Antoine Comeau. Lucas Cole was in the car as well at the great race at St. Petersburg that we only got that 1 session in. But right now, great battle we're watching here. Braden Eves in that number 1 machine, the 51 of Toby Sowery and Flynn Lazier in the 003. Back on the leaders again. There is the most recent, one of the most recent winners from Lucas Oil Raceway, Andre Castro. Jonathan, quite happy when he talked to us after getting that victory. Kind of got that weight off his shoulders. Now putting a lot of pressure on Dennis here now.
A good start. Dennis, as we said, he can run away with the victory. We right on board here with Keon Tandon, the J. Howard driver development team, coming up through the old part of Watkins Glen, through the boat, the boot, what am I saying? The boat, through the boot, and then on towards the toe. This is the downhill braking zone. Really got to nail the apex through here. Get it wrong and you'll be off into the grass on the left-hand side, and then back onto the NASCAR Cup course. So this is what's different to that NASCAR Cup course. There it is, you can see on screen. This will be an iconic shot. And here is the RP Motorsport USA driver of Dennis, leading away here from Andre Castro, from Hunter McElroy, from Braden Eves, from Toby Sowery. That's your top 5 for the race so far.
Glad to see Toby Sowery was able to get a good qualifying run to show you what he's got here. Again, just one of the guys, Jonathan, we saw so many of them who were putting together sim rigs, waiting for equipment to get there to their home, wherever they may be. Toby's actually over in Cambridge in the UK right now. And again, just finally able to getting everything set up, was trying to qualify for the Lucas Oil Raceway Oval, not able to get the job done, and did not make the race. We got a battle for the lead, though. Here comes into the boot to the inside, comes the 77 Andre Castro to the inside, book it. He's through. Castro goes to P1. Oh, but got trouble coming through the boot. He has trouble in the second apex. Car goes loose, and Jonathan backs it into the tire wall on the outside of the corner.
Well, we're going to look straight at a replay here of what's happened to Castro. Did he get helped around? This was a potential... Oh, no. That was going to be a fight in our hands for victory. And now we've lost one of the quickest drivers on the grid already. Castro's on the radio. Can't quite hear what he's saying. But let's take a second look at it, Rob. What's gone wrong for him? He
just carries too much speed through. I think he carries too much speed into the corner and tries to get the car to rotate into that third apex. We'll go on board. Now, this is with Dennis here. So there's Castro on the inside. Again, yeah, I think he just tries to get it pinched down. The car, too much speed, trying to get it down to that third apex to kind of come through cleanly. And that has actually put Braden Eves out into the lead, because what happened to Dennis? He falls back to P5. So Ohio's Braden Eves, the 2019 USF 2000 champion, now leading the way. McElroy slots into second, Sowery third, Lazier in fourth, Philippe Dennis back to fifth, and again, up comes as well Christian Brooks in that number 44, the California out of Santa Clarita, starting to put some pressure on here as well. We've got 6 drivers, Jonathan, in this lead group.
Does Phil Dennis have damage? Certainly made contact with Andre Castro, and they come towards the bus stop chicane for the first time since that incident. Castro is still going, I believe, although no, officially, sorry, excuse me, he's pulled it now. Battle for the lead continues, though. McElroy is going to be helped past, along with Toby Sowery. Eves falls down to third. Not sure how he formed up there out of Flynn Lazier. And Dennis now down to fourth, right ahead of Flynn Lazier. Now that's Keon Tandon off the racetrack as well at the bus stop.
Tough part of this racetrack, the bus stop. You're trying to carry so much speed through there, and the car, of course, transitioning first to the right, then the left, and then back to the right again. He's side by side with Prescott Campbell, sends it in there, and just absolutely totally loses it, trying to get the car to rotate. So Keon just running on that razor's edge, Jonathan, lost a bit of it, and it ends up in the tire wall. Further up front, though, look at Hunter McElroy. He was able to take that spot away, as we know from Braden Eves. Toby Sowery slots in a second now in the number 51. We're getting some really good action up front here. Now, listen, we talked earlier about the fact they can't let Philippe Dennis get away. We're 6.5 minutes into this 20-minute sprint. McElroy's pulling a bit of a gap here.
Certainly is, but I don't want to call it too early, Rob. We know what happened to Phil Dennis. Well, on the opening laps, right, Phil Dennis had almost a 1 second advantage. I can't remember the exact official gap, but they caught him. You know what happened to Andre Castro when he finally caught him. Castro will be there, though, for the second race. And don't forget, Rob, inverted top 10 for that second race.
I really like the adjustment that we made from Series 1 to Series 2. I think that we had a surprise at Barber. We weren't supposed to do pit stops, but they kind of set the fuel loading correctly, so we had to do pit stops. That was exciting enough that we extended it for the remainder of the series. And then we said, you know what? Let's change things around. These races are really long. Let's go 20-minute races. We have ourselves a battle here. I love these 20-minute sprints, and we are going at it again. Outside is Toby Sowery. Sowery gets all sideways coming in. He's trying to hold on to it. Sowery not able to save it and into the wall. Side by side with McElroy. Jonathan into the bus stop. Somebody was going to come out on the short end of that stick.
Oh, that was bound to happen. They were thinking about going 3 wide, and here we go. The thought process here. Eves backed out, which is smart enough in this situation. Oh, now there was that contact there because it looked like a huge jink from Sowery. Just couldn't save the oversteer.
Let's see that again, Jonathan. I think you picked it up. I have a feeling a little bit of contact there. The right front to left rear potential. Yeah, indeed there was. Indeed there was. McElroy was holding a good racing line. I just think that that Sowery kind of threw it across the rumbles there, across the apex, and it just made that contact, right? Just that right front to left rear.
We got to ask. We got to speak to Hunter McElroy. See if you got on iRacing, it will be called a 0x, which means whether or not you made minor car contact with somebody. We want to know if that's actually occurred. By the way, Andre Castro, as far as I know, is back out there on the racetrack trying to claim some strong championship points. Now, officially right now, we can rule him out of the championship after this race. He's not going to claim a strong haul of points finishing down the order unless the other 20 drivers rob DNF, which I don't think will happen. And the battle continues for the lead. It's Hunter McElroy from Eves. Phil Dennis still in there. And Rob, the road courses are Phil Dennis's races to lose. But like I said, this one is as close to an oval as it is a road course as Eves searches for the lead.
Yeah, to a certain extent, right? There's a couple of corners here where you really can't. Trouble there for Eves as well. Eves hooked the wheel coming through the second apex of the bus stop, shot the car well to the outside of the track. He was able to save it. Good shot here from the blimp. Let's have a look as he tries to roll in here with a lot of speed. Has just enough room to get and clear McElroy, but just a little bit of a jink coming across the curbing there of the second apex. Jonathan, he'll fall all the way back behind his teammate, Christian Brooks.
Every lap, we seem to have a moment at that corner. It's absolutely bizarre. We're coming towards halfway through the race, and I don't think it's going to be over. Oh, we have another moment next time we look. So Corey Enders now with trouble.
I'll tell you what, we haven't run Watkins Glen for a couple of years. We had our finale there a number of years ago, and it was a fantastic battle. They had just repaved it. The track was amazing. We all had a tremendous weekend. But most of these drivers have never had a chance to race here before, and I think that bus stop, Jonathan, it's really giving these guys fits right now. No one really able to roll through cleanly. They are pushing as hard as they can, as we know, but it's got to be 5 or 6 drivers already that have had issues, not in the entry, but in that second or third apex.
Well, you talked about previous races here. Of course, Aaron Talit's previous winner in Indy Lights in 2017. Back as well for USF 2000, we had Renus VK. I thought he was going to be running this series a bit more, Rob, but he's obviously not racing today at least.
Well, Renus is going to run IndyCar this year, so I think he's a little busy. Actually, Renus is one of the drivers right now who is not. He's back in, I believe, back home and has not been able to get over here yet. That's one of the issues for him. Of course, IndyCar getting rolling again in just a week's time in Texas, about a week and a half, actually, June the 6th. They'll be running at Texas. Both he and Alex Pillow, who will be running for Dale Coyne Racing, have not been able to get back. So that they're working hard to get Renus back. And, of course, runner-up last year in Indy Lights, tremendous driver. And, he was very quick here as well in the USF 2000 car.
Yeah, we're talking about IndyCar talent. Yeah, he was very strong in USF 2000. Of course, the champion in 2017 was Oliver Askew, who was also in IndyCar, so Askew doing a good job. Corey Enders actually raced here. We spoke about Corey Enders earlier. He raced here back in 2017 in USF 2000.
Indeed, we had a really good field of USF 2000 drivers in 2017. Obviously, those drivers moving their way up through the ranks. Oliver Askew, of course, was one of those drivers as well. Askew will run for Aero McLaren SP this year. Again, we're watching now the number 5. He's gone back to the lead. Philippe Dennis, after all of that commotion over in turn, what is number, essentially between 4 and 5. They don't actually number it, the inner loop itself, coming through the bus stop. But he has somehow worked his way back to the front. McElroy slots into second. Christian Brooks up to third. Braden Eves now in fourth. And I'll tell you the thing, Jonathan, he's fast. He can win races. He can come from the back. I don't know. Philippe Dennis has got a bit of luck as well. Somehow he's able to work his way forward. And sometimes he just allows the drivers to round him to make mistakes and finds himself back out front.
and doing a good job of it. But can he stay in P1 yet another time? Here's another lead change. We've had at least one every lap almost. It feels that way. Christian Brooks right there as well. Red Bull Global Rallycross driver in the past. Road to Indy specialist too at the same time. They at least get through the inner loop cleanly this time, Rob. And we ride on board with Brooks. Yeah, finally, exactly.
Indeed, on board with Christian Brooks. Let's have a look as they work their way down through. We'll let you ride on board with Christian a little bit here. Get a feel for what these cars are like rolling through the boot. Jonathan, one of my favorite parts of this racetrack, hard braking down at the toe, hard braking to the heel. You got to roll the corner speed coming up here to turn number 9. It's actually a decreasing radius corner, but it's so crucial because it leads essentially onto that straightaway into turn number 10 and 11. Impressive part of the racetrack to be able to roll speed through there. And again, watching Braden Eves try to close back up here on Christian Brooks, the driver I think is going to be a championship contender when we go racing starting at Road America at the start of July.
And here's Keon Tandon. What's happened to him? Second moment for him potentially at the inner loop. I don't like the corner coming up for this replay. Oh, he's gone in way too hot and smacked the car into the wall. Ooh. Goodness gracious. Almost ended up in the trees as Keon Tandon has a moment there. That was actually very well produced right there. Having that replay on board. Here's another lead change. Dennis alongside McElroy. Braden Eves working with his teammate, or at least that's what we think, along with Christian Brooks. Brooks needs to form up in third.
Oh, trouble for Brooks! Lost it. Trouble for Brooks, like so many drivers, losing the rear of the car, coming through the second apex of the boot, and around he went. We'll have another look at it here on the replay. Of course, look at this battle. This is Dennis, McElroy, Brooks, and Eves all rolled in. These guys just trying to carry so much speed through. That looked very similar to the one that happened to Braden Eves, Jonathan. Would you not say so? Just kind of hooked the inside of that curb.
Looked very and awfully similar, you're right. Let's watch another angle here. On board with Eves. Bottomed out over the curb. Oh, what a save from Eves. Managed to avoid his teammate, avoided contact. Good stuff from him. But the problem is, look how much time he's lost from that, having a trip over the grass.
Well, one thing you talked about at the start, and Greg DeGiorgio's talked about it as well, the draft plays such a huge role here. Now we're seeing Philippe Dennis pull out to a pretty solid advantage now, but McElroy's going to have to get up on it and use that draft to close back in. He'll get the big run down the straightaway again, but you're right. Look at a big gap back. Jacob Loomis in the 09 has now inherited the third place in the running order. Eves right with him there. So we got two drivers up front, then two running third and fourth. A little further back to Daniel Frost, who's now putting the pressure here, battling it out with Prescott Campbell. Max Kaiser, though, back up into 7th position.
Daniel Frost is the driver we should talk about. 5th in the championship coming into this round. He's had a very impressive campaign as we watch Braden Eves here dice away with Jacob Loomis. Now for Jacob Loomis with this, I'm trying to fact check here. I'm almost certain, I'm not going to say 100%, Rob, but 99% certain that this is his best race result so far. But we could have said that for a lot of drivers about 5 minutes ago.
Indeed. Yeah, this is indeed the best he's run. He's had a couple of top 10 runs, I believe. Remember, we look back to the race in the initial series at Road America when he helped push Christian Brooks up the hill at Road America when he was out of fuel. But otherwise, Loomis has been running strong, and I know he's working extremely hard to try to get a full season this year in the Indy Pro 2000 category. Ran a couple of races last year as a privateer, just a small, 20 by 10 easy up tent out of the side of the trailer. Well, the other teams have the massive rigs. And again, like I always say, a car has no idea how it gets to the racetrack. Could be a small 20-foot trailer, could be a full toter. But the bottom line is the driver's got to jump behind it, especially in this program, Jonathan. Spec cars, right? Everybody on the same TATIS PM18 in the Indy Pro 2000 category. Same engines, same Cooper tires, elite engines building the power plants. Everybody has that same level to be able to race on. It's all about talent in the Road to Indy.
Now, remember you spoke before about Road to Indy traveling to Watkins Glen in the past. When we came here, 2017 for Indy Lights, 2016. We came here back in 2010 as well. Jean-Carl Vernet, a Frenchman, won for Sam Schmidt Motorsports. And right ahead of James Hinchcliffe, don't forget, who's current IndyCar driver. J.R. Hildebrand won here in 2009. Driver who wishes he could have been the Indy 500 champion for 2011, although I don't want him to lament that too much. But we've been here sporadically over the years. Even back in the 90s, I remember USF 2000 back then even ran here, as it was one of the series that you graduated from to enter the IndyCar series.
Yeah, interesting. Back in those days, the earlier days of, let's say, the Cooper Tire ZTEC F2000 Championship, or even back in the USF 2000 days, Dan Anderson, who actually owns the program, Anderson Promotions, had a race team back then. And had a number of drivers came up through the ranks for Anderson Racing, Anderson Kish Racing, a number of different drivers able to be part of that program. And again, yeah, Watkins Glen has really, it's an iconic racetrack, of course, in North America, but open wheel racing has always played a big role in the schedule of this particular track in upstate New York. Fantastic facility, packs, it just absolutely packs in the fans as well. People come and have an absolute blast here and be part of the action. But as you said, yeah, J.K. Vernet was a winner at a time back in the day with Hinchcliffe. And you bring up J.R. Hildebrand because he's a former Cooper Tire ZTEC F2000 champion, ran with Cape Motorsports there as well, and was able to win a championship there. So USF 2000, Jonathan, really has just been kind of one of those, groundwork programs developing young drivers coming out of karts, maybe coming out of F1600. It's just been such a core step for so many drivers working their way to the NTT IndyCar Series.
What a shot that is. This is the white flag, or it has been waved as they came across the start-finish straight. And the race continues here between Dennis and McElroy. This will be Hunter McElroy's best overtaking spot. The draft effect so strong. He's climbing closer and closer to Phil Dennis. Is he going to go for it around the outside? The Kiwi looks. He has to form up, though. And New Zealander Hunter McElroy will have to pull off this move into the boot section. It'll be hard to do across the front stretch. He'll pick up a lot of turbulent air. And let's see who we will be speaking to, Rob, at our Rick Motec post-race show in about a few minutes' time.
Not close enough to throw it down in there at the toe of the boot. He'll have to wait for the heel. Good set of corners here for Philippe Dennis, trying to grab yet another victory. He's really been the toast of the eSeries here in the Road to Indy TireRack.com program. Pretty good lead, working his way down into the heel of the boot. He'll roll out of here. At this point, as you said, Jonathan, not a whole lot left. He'll bring him back out of here up to turn number 9. Philippe Dennis looking to get another victory, and it would extend that championship lead to the point where a good finish in race number 2 could all but clinch the championship for him. He works his way through turn number 10 once again. What a day it has been so far. Out of the final corner, winner in the first race of the doubleheader here at Watkins Glen International, Philippe Dennis scoring the victory. Hunter McElroy coming home in second. I believe Braden Eves, Jonathan, coming back home for third. Yep. Jacob Loomis in fourth. And Prescott Campbell working his way back up for a top 5.
Brilliant result by Prescott Campbell. Jacob Loomis, that will be his best result of the E-Series so far. Important for Eves, though, to snatch that spot on the final lap. But for Phil Dennis, he extends his championship lead. We've still got another race coming up, and we've got a Rick Motec post-race show. We're going to speak to Phil Dennis, the surgeon, right after this. Don't leave us.
What if they sold tires online?
We do. We're TireRack.com.
They could offer lots of tires and help you find the right tire.
It's called the Tire Decision Guide.
Oh, and they could ship them to a nearby mechanic.
We shipped over 7,000 independent recommended installers.
This is an amazing idea.
Sorry.
Receive fast, free shipping and road hazard protection, a deal, and peace of mind. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.
It's me, your Uncle Cooper, and this is a Cooper tire. Great tire. Now, it's not going to cook you a pot roast, but it will stop when you hit the brakes. And these truck tires can stop on average 10 feet shorter than other tires on a wet road. See, the trick is in the grip. And these tires grip like my handshake. Look, I'm your uncle. I love you. I want you to stop when you need to. Doesn't matter if it's for a red light or a duckling. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! And never start something you can't stop.
And back here again, you get to see Rob Howden's beautiful face on the coverage. Rob, what a race that was. Let me tell you something. Phil Dennis extends the championship lead. He comes into race 2 with a bit of confidence. But again, I don't think it's going to be as easy for him now. It's what happened that race 1 for him was a bit of a race of attrition, which I thought helped along with his speed.
Yeah, I wouldn't have said coming in that we were going to have that many issues over in the bus stop. More drivers, I think, have been able to drive this enough to be able to get a feel to get through there. But we had so many drivers struggle. I think the inside of that second apex, we saw a couple drivers get on top of that, both Eves and Brooks, then bottom out, as you had said, Jonathan. That had some trouble there. A number of drivers struggling, though, through that part of the racetrack. And somehow, because of that, that allowed Philippe Dennis to work his way back to the front again.
And we're going to speak to the RP Motorsport USA driver. Phil, we got you?
Yep.
Congratulations again. This has to be, I feel like you're Michael Schumacher now or something, mate. This is a victory after victory, but it came a bit difficult today because like we discussed, Watkins Glen is essentially an oval on a road course.
Oh, well, I wouldn't call me a Michael Schumacher just yet, but hopefully in the future. But yeah, it was a tough race. At the beginning, Andre, I think, spun, and I had to avoid him. And I got a slowdown, so I had to let everyone by, and I had to work my way back up from that. But luckily, I didn't lose too much time, and everyone was making mistakes here and there, and I was able to capitalize.
And one more thing, Philippe, about your race. The slipstream effect, like we said, made a big deal for you. How are you going to handle now race number 2 of the evening? You've got the slipstream from the back of the pack. You're starting from 10th now. I think this will be an easy affair for you to make some overtakes work.
Yeah, as we saw, it was very tough to pull away for anyone in this race. So I think it's just be smart, keep your nose clean like always, and just I have to be as smart as I can through the field because there's just so many things that can go wrong here.
And one more thing, Philippe, the championship now, you've extended the lead over Braden Eves. Going into race 4, we don't think it's going to be almost impossible for you to mathematically wrap up the championship, but you're in great position, aren't you, going into race 2? Bit of less pressure for you.
Yeah, it's not really on my mind. I'm just looking for winning races by races. The championship is kind of just a thing that comes after. So I'm just looking to maximize this race and do what I can.
There you go. We'll leave you to it, Philippe. Good luck for race 2. Hopefully speak to you in the next Rick Motec post-race show. And Rob, we've wrapped up race 1, already heading to race 2. Now, one thing I want to talk about as well going into race 2 is the inverted top 10. Do we see carnage that could occur here to begin the race?
Well, I think you're going to see a couple drivers coming from the tail of the field, too, and going to be really aggressive, like a Castro coming through. I don't know that you're going to see a lot of carnage, though. I think maybe drivers had a chance to kind of settle out a little bit, in that first race, kind of calm down, get a feel for where they might have issues. Hopefully the drivers will be able to get off cleanly, and we're able to have another good run up into the bus stop. It was actually a pretty good start for race number 1. I was kind of surprised. I hope they got through cleanly. They did. They actually came a little bit later on, but otherwise, I think we're going to have a good race.
It's going to be a thrilling one for sure. It's going to come up after this. Another 20 minutes of action from the Glen. Just a few hours drive from New York City. Coming up next.
What if they sold tires online?
We do. We're TireRack.com.
They could offer lots of tires and help you find the right tire.
It's called the Tire Decision Guide.
Oh, and they could ship them to a nearby mechanic.
We shipped to over 7,000 independent recommended installers.
This is an amazing idea.
Sorry.
Receive fast, free shipping and road hazard protection, a deal, and peace of mind. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.
And welcome back to Watkins Glen. Here are the championship standings so far. This is a live update post first race of the evening here for round number 4. We've got 3 races left for the championship, a round and a half left. Phil Dennis, Rob, 15-point championship lead, is in prime position here to snatch the championship, heading to the final round next week over at Iowa.
Yeah, he's definitely got a solid point lead here. Now, he just doesn't seem to make any mistakes. Even when he had the issue in the opening round at Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway, he started dead last and worked his way back to the front, got the race win. So he's just been able to kind of recover. What I find really interesting from this here, in the cross-section we have of the drivers, look at the top, essentially 8 drivers, all different teams. RP Motorsport USA with Dennis, Exclusive Autosport with Braden Eves, and you've got Miller Vinatieri Motorsports with Max Kaiser, a winner at Lucas Oil Raceway, another winner at Lucas Oil, Andre Castro with Legacy, and Pabst Racing for Macaré, Andretti Autosport for Frost, and BN Racing for Loomis, and then Flynn Lazier, his Privateer Lazier Racing team. 8 different teams in the top 8. I like that.
And have a look at Andre Castro and 105 points. That's very impressive, I think, for the amount of incidents he's been involved in. The Legacy Autosport drivers still claimed a good strong haul of points. Of course, we know Max Kaiser's been very impressive around the ovals, and with 3 ovals, that's been critical towards a good championship challenge this season, although mathematically at the moment, he's not able to claim a top 2 spot, so he's going to have to fight with Andre Castro for the 3rd position. Now, we have a fastest lap of the race award to hand out as well. That, of course, as usual, is presented to you by TSOladder.com. Rob, TSO Ladder have joined us for every race of the championship so far, and they're also presented by Cooper Tires, our series partner.
Yeah, shout out to the guys at TSO Ladder, Steve Wittick and Patrick Steffen, 2 passionate journalists who absolutely love IndyCar racing, and they absolutely love the ladder system as well. That's one of the place, if not the place to go for all the news you need, TSOladder.com, covering everything that we do with the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. But look at this. I like the lineup. As we said, top 10 invert driver coming home in 10th spot, Peter Dempsey. This could be interesting for him starting on the front row. We know he's been strong throughout the program. He's had a lot of bad luck. He'll start alongside Corey Enders on row 1. Row 2, Nate Aranda for Juncos Racing. Starting 3rd, Max Kaiser. As we said, up there 3rd in points. Jonathan starting P4.
Well, ignore the lap time there of 57 seconds. IndyCar was in the 1 minute 22 range here when they raced a couple of years ago, so that's obviously inaccurate for Peter Dempsey. He's not that quick. We know he's talented, but he's not 30 seconds faster than an IndyCar in a Pro Mazda. Corey Enders, as you said, start alongside him, so good to see the inverted top 10 there. Ryan Norman for Andretti Autosport will be trying to support teammate Daniel Frost. They'll be working together. They're both in a good position for the championship. Flynn Lazier, after starting in your top 10 last race, will only start from 12th after finishing in 12th in race number 1. We cycle through the rest of the grid and down the order. We see Toby Sowry, Anton Comeau, Timmy Pagliuso, who last round fared well to begin the race, Rob, and it was involved in an incident at Lucas Oil, which kept him down the order. And Andre Castro, most importantly, starting from 15th, a dark horse for this event, if he can keep it clean.
And we got some fast guys at the very tail of the field. Castro, as you said, Christian Brooks is starting deep in the field. Toby Sowry starting deep in the field. Timmy Pagliuso, though, definitely a great story. Sponsored by Turtle Plastics, been trying to put together a program to run a bunch of races. I think he did Mid-Ohio with us last year, trying to run the race at Lucas Oil Raceway as well. The cool thing about Timmy is here's a guy who wants to go racing on the road to Indy, but he's busy most weekends already. He's an over-the-wall guy for actually Graham Rahal's squad, the Rahal Lennerman Lanigan team. He's a tire changer. So here's a guy that already has a gig on race weekends, but he wants to be in the car. He wants to be behind the wheel. He doesn't want to be putting wheels on. He wants to actually be steering one, which I think is awesome.
And from Symmetric Driver Performance Labs, what a shot that is with the sun here at Watkins Glen. It's Greg DeGeorgis piloting the brilliant Corvette. And we'll head our field away here for the pace lap. Track conditions out there, 21 degrees Celsius. Apologies, Americans. That's somewhere in the range of 70 Fahrenheit. I've got all my settings here, Rob, to the wrong settings. I've got them in metric system. I'm going to read all these out. 13 kilometers an hour for wind. I don't even know what that is in miles. What, that's 7 miles an hour northwest?
Well, I'm Canadian. I use Celsius and kilometers an hour.
Oh, you use metric? Oh, sorry, Rob. Yeah, my bad.
I can't help you out right now.
All right. Well, sorry to the US of A's out there.
There you go. Now we've got her dialed in for you. 8 mile an hour winds, 70 degrees, the ambient temperature. Track temp about 75 degrees. One driver spinning further back here on the warm-up lap, but drivers getting a chance to have a little look around. Flynn Lazier actually went around, potentially dropping a wheel there with the cold Cooper tires.
Now, iRacing rules will allow him to reclaim his spot. He doesn't have to start from the back of the pack. So if Lazier doesn't want to dive into the pits to repair, That'll be something interesting to look at, but he will be able to reclaim his spot. He doesn't have to dive into the pits or press the escape button or a delete key and take him back to the lane. So interesting that things already going wrong here on the pace lap. And we're going to have a rolling start as usual for race number 2. So like we said, weather out there, it's a brilliant... that was a brilliant shot across the front stretch. It is in sim time, 6 p.m. That's why you see the sunset in the background. It's only going to get darker and colder for the rest of this event.
And that's actually very similar to the times that we normally run, Jonathan. Being a support program for the NTT IndyCar Series, we normally run very early in the morning. We, more often than not, have an 8, 8:30, or 9 o'clock call time at the start of a weekend. We're also racing late in the day. We'll have 4:30, 5:30, and, of course, in the long, lazy days of summer, potentially a 6:30 start time to some of our races. So these drivers kind of used to this a little bit, so it's not like it's anything out of the ordinary. But for me right now, what I'm really interested in is seeing what Peter Dempsey can do. Can he jet away early? We know that big draft all the way up through turns 2 and 3, all the way down to the bus stop is huge. But Peter's the kind of guy that can get something done here, could potentially pull away.
Not only that, but Braden Eves' getaway was so rapid last race. We'll see if he can make the outside work this time round. He's going to start from the outside. You can see him there on the right-hand side of the screen, right behind Prescott Campbell. But the race will be led by Peter Dempsey, away from Corey Enders. Nate Aranda up there as well. Max Kaiser, who's been ever so strong in the championship. Frost and Loomis working with each other on the inside, along with Hunter McElrea. Who is going to lead heading into 1? Who's going to lead heading into the inner loop for the first time? We go green for the final time tonight.
Indeed, green, 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 racing down into turn number 1. Peter Dempsey to the way to the outside of the racetrack. Aranda has a look to the inside. They'll use all of that pavement to the outside. One driver spinning further back, but a great start here. Solid jump for Peter Dempsey, the turn 3 Motorsport driver, out to a good lead. It's Enders slotting into the second spot right now. Good start for Max Kaiser as well, Jonathan. He'll move his way into third, but watch for them to form up too wide as they work their way down the back straightaway. Here goes the move. Eves to the inside of Kaiser, down into turn number 5.
This will be 5 spots for Eves. If he can pull it off on Max Kaiser. This isn't critical for the championship right now, and he does. What a start from Braden Eves in the exclusive Autosport car. He's gained 5 spots in 4 corners.
You know, Jonathan, that's one of the things you can do at the start here at Watkins Glen. You always get that great iconic shot of them coming down the downhill run after getting the green. It's so wide on the exit of that corner that it gives drivers an opportunity to get really good runs and then back up through. A lot of drivers are timid coming up through turns 2 and 3 on that opening lap, and drivers that aren't, like Braden Eves, able to go around the outside and get a couple of spots. Now watching Nate Aranda going to work here on the 0-1 of Prescott Campbell. Campbell trying to go around the outside, gets a decent run, but Aranda's going to hold him back right behind them as well. As Aranda is Campbell and Frost, 68, the white red machine of Daniel Frost, Jonathan, running there in, I think, where is he, P7.
Great racing by Aranda. And here's Hunter McElrea diving to the inside. McElrea on Frost. Oh, they're still going to be alongside each other here. Small field today compared to usual. Only 16 cars out there on the racetrack racing at least. There's been a lot of drivers who are out on the opening lap. And they're going to dive down to turn 1. McElrea using the Braden Eves line through the corner. Very wide all the drivers go. That's not going to end well. And that
Drive
doesn't
around.
end well for Max Kaiser.
Was that Kaiser in the wall?
Yes.
Tough one for Kaiser. And that's a tough part of this racetrack. You watch him come out here. Look at the battle. He's in the middle of a tough scrap there as they work their way through. He's way out wide. Oh, then jumps up over top. Actually didn't get the car, Jonathan, back onto the asphalt coming through there. And the car leapt 4 wheels off and spun as soon as it got back down on the pavement.
Goodness me, that was flight 41 for Kaiser. And he got sent flying out of the air. Anyway, the point is, I'm stumped for words after seeing that. This is a cracking scrap right now down the back of the pack. They are right behind your 3 leaders. Rob, you could potentially lose 7 positions here of one mistake.
Indeed, and it's Nate Aranda up front, and even more than that, Corey Enders has taken over the lead from Peter Dempsey. Oh, more contact! Contact coming out of the toe of the boot as they crested over the hill. The 68 of Frost, one of the drivers involved. You can see him there. Also involved the number 33 machine, Antoine Comeau, falling to the tail of the field. This is a battle up front here, though. Philippe Dennis able to get through. He gets by Campbell. He gets by Aranda. But it's up front. Corey Enders by Dempsey to take the lead. Here's the replay.
I was about to write down who was involved in this, and it's so tough to catch now. There's so many cars. Looked like Daniel Frost anyway, as you said. Daniel Frost in the Andretti Autosport car. Go on.
Toby Sowery was right in there as well. I don't know if a couple drivers were going jinking side to side, whatever it may be. Here's a battle for second spot. A tighter line coming through turn number one for Braden Eves. He'll have the inside of Dempsey coming up through the hills to turn 2 over to turn 3. Eves holding on the outside. Number of drivers, though, going way wide on the exit of 1, Jonathan.
That's so dangerous right now. You can barely go. Oh, we got an accident.
Big wreck. Nate Aranda. Is that Nate? That's Nate Aranda. Indeed.
Has to be Nate Aranda, I'm pretty sure. Aranda's down the back of the pack. Let's watch another replay. He's alongside Luke. It is Nate Aranda for sure.
Prescott Campbell. Prescott Campbell got into the back of him. That's an unbelievably fast part of this racetrack. And again, one of the things about the track, Jonathan, it's harder to see a little bit here in iRacing. When you come up through turns 2 and 3, they have those big catch fencing that goes very high and then actually then pins over top. It feels like you're running through a tunnel coming up through turns 2 and 3. It's wider than it is, but the crash fencing really makes it feel like you're kind of caved in there right now, and that was just trouble. Campbell into the back of Aranda, and it was a huge incident coming through 3.
Well, we'll take a breather, and we'll look at the top 10 for this race. Corey Enders leads so far from Phil Dennis. Somehow, Phil Dennis up there. I'd like to know what's happened to Braden Eves, because I looked down the order and Braden Eves was looking for the lead in this race, Rob, and I don't know where he's gone. Did I miss something there? I'm pretty sure I haven't. Braden Eves, here we go. So we haven't seen this. Eves alongside Dempsey. This is the championship being thrown away. Oh, no. And contact between the two. It looked like one of those netcode incidents, Rob, where some connectivity issues could have caused the incident.
It looked to me like real contact. I don't know if that's netcode or not. It looks to me like they were just kind of trying to go for the same amount. And yeah, that's straight up contact. Yeah. Peter Dempsey just didn't want to give that much room, and I don't think that Eves was going to give him anyways. That was we are getting told a drive-through penalty for the 51 of Toby Sowery. Remember when I brought Toby's name up with the incident between he and the 68 of Daniel Frost, some contact between those drivers, and indeed, race control, Johnny Unser up there having a look.
No.
It's Hunter McElray. McElray coming through the carousel after the boot. Contact puts him in the wall. Is it contact or is it no? Just a mistake potentially.
Well, knowing this, there could be a car just pop up out of nowhere here. I told you.
Oh, you did.
He was on his own, but I was
Kaiser.
like, no one.
That's Kaiser.
Alrighty. And at the same time, Corey Enders leads the race from Dennis. Is this the championship? Oh, he was helped around potentially by Phil Dennis.
Philippe Dennis got into the back of Kaiser coming out of the bus stop. He gets sideways. McElray with nowhere to go. I guarantee you race control will be looking at that as well as Dennis, the point leader, getting in the back of Kaiser. He still runs P2, but contact for that battle for second put McElray off track. And still up front, though, Corey Enders.
Well, Andre Castro is having a good race. He's up 12 spots. So we don't know how this is going to end for Castro. But the thing is, I told you, Rob, I saw Max Kaiser on his own. And, Hunter McElray, excuse me. And I told you, man, I'm like, he's on his own, but I swear to God, there's going to be a car that pops up out of nowhere here. As we ride on board with Castro searching for P3. And Prescott Campbell. Be an easy pass. Well, I say that, Rob. Let's see how it fares through the inner loop.
Yeah, really good, though, draft up the hill through 2 and 3. Able to get down to the inside, tossing it in there. Great pass. That was a fantastic pass on the outside for Andre Castro. I don't think there's any questioning the talent, especially here on the iRacing platform for Andre Castro. This guy is a tremendous young driver. Had a chance, and will be running again this year in the NASCAR Wayland Series over in Europe, the Euro Series in stock cars. We hope to see him with Legacy Autosport potentially this year in USF 2000 as well. He's a talented driver, lives in Florida. Putting a lot of pressure here now. I'd rather put the pressure on on Prescott Campbell, able to get by, so move him up to P3. We're going to keep watching the battle up front between Enders and Dennis, but just a really good run here for the 77 coming from deep in the field.
We'll keep you updated with all the race control messages at the bottom of the screen.
Oh, look at that one.
Phil Dennis, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Championship leader with a penalty. It's about, Rob, I'd say, I think it's, when I did the calculations here, about, I think, 24 to 26 seconds for a drive-through time. No, excuse me, sorry, it'll be about 20 seconds because that's where the pit stop for tires only. So he will lose at the moment, if we look at the gaps, we'll only lose about 6 spots. So it won't be the end of the world for Dennis.
Very interesting, but that 24 seconds, like you said, is going to give a big lead right now to Corey Enders. There's a good fight here as well. Not only is Castro coming up through the field, so is the 44, Christian Brooks. He's able to get around the outside of the 48 of Ryan Norman. Got to finish his pass coming up the hill, so the exclusive Autosports driver, rookie this year in USF 2000, now moves his way in to the P4 position. Brooks holding the spot, but here comes Norman. He's to the outside, not using the draft, but just going to try to outrace him down to the bus stop.
Brilliant pass there by Brooks. Up in a fourth. Going to try and fight his way through the field with Castro. Although we're losing Castro in the shot here. He's screaming away. Goodness me, Castro's pulled a gap. And that means with a penalty for Dennis, who now leads this race from Corey Enders after making a pass on the number 7. Corey Enders will be handed the lead. But is this a potential first road victory for Andre Castro?
Castro going to see if he can't reel in Corey Enders. We'll keep looking at lap times between those two drivers there. But again, we watched as Enders now getting a little look, kind of running right there with Philippe Dennis, maybe learning a little bit from the driver who is, as we said, the point leader. But it will be a drive-through penalty. He had that contact with Max Kaiser that spun him around, took Hunter McElroy out in the process. And indeed, a drive-through penalty for contact with Max Kaiser in the 41 for Philippe Dennis. So we'll see if he serves that now coming out of the final corner on the racetrack. Will he duck into the pits? Indeed, he will. Out to the outside goes Enders. He'll still pull away just past the halfway point here. Crucial that we still have a lot of race here still, Jonathan, for Philippe Dennis to work his way back forward. But that slow, painful crawl down pit lane, everybody else pulling away from you. That's the toughest part of a drive-through, having to at least have the patience to get back out on track and see what you can kind of rebuild from, I think.
No, you're right. That's a great way to put it. As we see some drivers side-by-side action here. Dennis on the left-hand side of the screen should pop up around Prescott Campbell, and he does. Officially, the gap is about 2 seconds between the both of them. That's a very quick pit time. So my calculations are about spot on, around about 20 seconds for a drive-through. As be careful, guys, please, heading into the inner loop. Dempsey, you know what? I know they're using fixed setups here, Rob. Oh, just as I began to point, Mike Myers has spun around. And just as I was talking about that, Rob, these drivers are using a fixed setup. But for some reason, every time we watch Peter Dempsey, he seems to take off like an aeroplane at most of the curbs.
Well, that comes back to his Formula 4 days. He'll attack those curbs in a big way like he would back in the F1600 cars. But again, a tough one there for Michael Myers. He was having a really good run. It looks like front wing damage, potentially more damage for Peter Dempsey as he slowed down a little bit. Louis Meyer getting by, as did the 28 of Keon Tandy. Here comes the 24 of Myers back by again. So potential damage, as we said there. Yeah, indeed, some issues for Peter Dempsey in the number 3. Let's see if he brings it back in to try to get that repaired, or whether or not he just calls it quits because those drivers have got back by. But Louis Meyer, team owner for Mike Meyer, for Legacy Autosport in the 14, was very strong at Lucas Oil Raceway and now currently running, I believe, in the 14th position.
Look at the lap times on the left-hand side of the screen. Castro 7/10 quicker than Corey Enders. The gap now half a second for the lead. This battle continues that we're watching on screen for the bottom end, the mid-pack of your top 10, I should say. And here's Castro in the Legacy Autosport machine. He doesn't want to make contact here. He's got such an advantage using the slipstream. Will he think about taking the lead into the inner loop? And as I say that, there seems to be front wing damage to Castro's vehicle on the front right.
Yeah, a little bit, not a ton, but indeed a little bit, and that's going to maybe hurt him a little bit coming through the carousel where you're really asking a lot of the front wing to get that car to point where you want it to go. Same coming here down into the boot. You're really trying to trust the front end of the race car. What I like right now, Jonathan, is Andre Castro's showing a bit of patience here right now. He knows he's faster than Corey Enders. He was able to close right back up. The draft's so huge here at Watkins Glen, he'll take that to his advantage. But there was no need to make a low percentage move around the outside, kind of toss it in, send it into the bus stop, and not be able to hold it. He is on Enders right now. Put the pressure on him, see if he can't force a mistake first. But he's got a big gap back to Christian Brooks, who runs P3. Right now, we're talking about 6.5 minutes for Castro to go to work, play the chess game, and make that move when he's ready.
And that last lap was the fastest lap of the race, presented by TSOladder.com. So if Castro goes quicker this time around, it'll be a second fastest lap for him. Although the pace Corey Enders is traveling at is around the low 42s without the draft. Castro across the line here. He set a 1 minute 41.9, so about 0.6 slower than that fastest lap of the race award that he will win. That's brought to you by TSOladder.com. Enders, that's going to pick up a 1x. That will delete your lap time. That won't count towards the fastest lap. And this could be a lead change here with 6 minutes to go if Castro times it right. He's not going to time it right. He's going to go for it as quickly as possible.
Gets that big run coming out of the corner, turn number 3 back up the hill here. Castro on the outside, Enders on the inside. This is the best we've seen Corey Enders run, that's for sure. He's been hitting his marks lap after lap. Has not put a wheel wrong as of yet, but Enders not able to hold back Andre Castro. Not to be denied, the young Floridian driver for Legacy Autosport now leading the way in that number 77. Who's worked his way from very deep in the field. Started, I think, almost dead last. Was able to get his way back up now to the lead, take full advantage of the issues that were happening around him. Philippe Dennis with that drive-through, Jonathan, back up to 6th position right now. But for all the issues, how many times throughout these 2 series have we talked about Castro? Bad luck, flipping, that huge wreck that he had at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He's been taken out while leading. Finally got the victory at Lucas Oil Raceway, and then now leads here with about 5 minutes to go at Watkins Glen.
He was our pole winner over in round 1. That pole winner award presented by Symmetric Driver Performance Labs. So the fastest lap of the race award, don't forget to, for round 3 last week out at Lucas Oil Raceway. And don't forget, won his first race at Lucas Oil last week. Finally, the bad luck over for Castro. And he's trying his best here to break the toe. He knows he's quicker than Enders, and he's trying to get rid of him and dispose of him as quickly as possible. That lap round was the fastest lap of the race for Andre Castro. The fastest of all drivers out there on the racetrack, despite some front wing damage. It's up now to the Legacy Autosport driver to break away from Corey Enders.
Absolutely stellar run, as Jonathan has detailed, for the number 77, but Corey Enders using that draft as much as he can to stay with him, coming into the bus stop here again. Got pretty close, but that's a tough corner. We talked about so many drivers struggling with the bus stop in the opening race. We had at least 6 or 7 incidents. Little bit of trouble for Enders coming through the carousel. That's a super fast part of the racetrack. As I said, very similar to the carousel at Road America, although more banked here at Watkins Glen. But man, you have to trust the car. You have to trust the front. Further back, the battle between Christian Brooks and Ryan Norman. But watching the 77 of Castro here, 3.5 minutes to go, Jonathan. I'll tell you, Enders throwing everything he can, just like trying to hold onto that draft, trying to throw the hook onto the rear wing, the gearbox of Castro, but Andre putting down some tremendous laps here.
And looking at the GPS data, Castro is gaining under braking. It's with the draft where Corey Enders is starting to catch up. That's the difficulty of the sim. Just lacking the feel under braking can really cost some of the real-world drivers when you put them onto the simulator. And Ryan Norman here in some trouble as we watch a replay for the Tire Rack Road to Indy E-Series. He's lost it there through the boot section of Watkins Glen. Just clipped the curb there on the inside.
Yeah, climbed the curb and on way to the car, got it all crossed up and wasn't able to hold on to it.
This race isn't over. We've got a couple of laps to go here. Here's the D-Force Racing driver of Corey Enders. Let's ride on board with him.
Here it is. He got that draft. Enders is going to go back to the inside to try to make it exciting. Castro still on the outside. To the inside, though, to the boot or to the bus stop. Book it. He takes the spot away. Enders goes back to P1. So we got a couple of minutes remaining here. Just over 2 minutes remaining. And Corey Enders, the D-Force driver, has gone back to the lead in that number 7 machine. He'll work his way back down into the boot again. Jonathan, we got ourselves a race here as Castro running P2. We got a 2-driver fight for the win.
Normally, I always like to be the driver ahead, Rob. I love defending. I'm confident. I'm never nervous doing it. But in this situation, you want to be the driver attacking going into the final lap. If I'm Andre Castro, you play this right, you'll be in prime position on that final lap to take victory. Or will it be Corey Enders in the D-Force racing car to take his first victory? It's going to be down towards these two. Any collisions, any contact? Christian Brooks, you'll see him pop up in shot now. There he is, a few seconds behind, coming back onto the NASCAR portion of Watkins Glen. White flag waves. We've got a race on our hands.
This is what I'm talking about. It's Watkins Glen International, the iconic track up in Corning, New York. Here we go. They'll work their way down the hill onto turn number 1 once again. Final circuit. Corey Enders trying to break that goose egg and get the first race win here in the Road to Indy eSeries season number 2. TireRack.com, a sponsor, up through turns 2 and 3. This will be the run. I'll tell you, we know for sure that Castro, he's going to peek to the outside. Into the inside goes Enders, side by side. Jonathan down to the bus stop.
Enders still there, though. Are they going to go alongside each other? No. Castro books it. And he's going to potentially take victory, although Enders will have a few corners to go. He's fallen back by a country mile here. 6/10 down already on the relative gap. You can see on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. This looks like Castro will take his second victory of the season. First on a road course. Legacy Autosport will be celebrating for sure if he can stick it here with a few more corners to go.
Yeah, I think that Enders was trying to defend, trying to potentially see if he can hold that inside line, and by doing that, didn't give himself a really good line into the first couple of corners of the bus stop. Had to get off a little bit, and I'll give props to Castro because the car was a little sketchy coming out of the bus stop, and he was able to control it. He comes out of the boot now. Enders still pretty close, only a couple of car lengths. Will he get enough of a run? It'll little bit of a defensive move down the inside. Good lead here coming through the final couple of corners. Castro looking strong. Enders trying to get a good run out as well. Do we have enough of a draft? Enders way wide on the exit, right down to the bottom of the racetrack. They'll swerve to try to keep him out of the draft. And indeed, Andre Castro in the 77 for Legacy Autosport, your winner. Battle here at the end for Philippe Dennis. He's scrounging whatever he can to try to get back to P5. He's able to get by Dempsey on the final circuit. So, look at this. Sowery and Prescott Campbell going at it as well.
Brilliant event here to finish. This is incredible right now as Sowery and Campbell are going to be alongside each other to the finish. A drag race. And Sowery will finish ahead of Campbell. Corey Enders finished 7th here a few years ago when USF 2000 made a trip around Watkins Glen. But for today, he'll only finish 2nd. And that elusive win at Watkins will have to wait next time round. But for Andre Castro, we're going to speak to him in our Rick Motec post-race show along with a few others. Don't leave us.
It's me, your Uncle Cooper, and this is a Cooper tire. Great tire. Now, it's not going to cook you a pot roast, but it will stop when you hit the brakes. And these truck tires can stop on average 10 feet shorter than other tires on a wet road. See, the trick is in the grip, and these tires grip like my handshake. Look, I'm your uncle. I love you. I want you to stop when you need to. Doesn't matter if it's for a red light or a duckling. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! And never start something you can't stop.
And time for the Rick Motec post-race show. And there's still drivers here trying to complete the race. Keon Tandon, Louis Meyer across the finish line. They're all the way down there. You can see just a lap behind here as Phil Dennis will... Now, excuse me, these are the race 1 results. So I got trolled there for a second. We're going to look at the second race results of the evening. Race number 2 for round 4. Andre Castro, winner, takes his first road victory, second victory of the season. He's had a splendid championship. Will climb to 3rd in the championship as well, above Max Kaiser, who unfortunately was classified as a did not finish. Corey Enders, though, Rob, I talked about him in the real world. He finished 7th here a few years ago in USF 2000. Unfortunately, that elusive victory at Watkins will have to wait, at least in the virtual world.
I would tell you this: in the real world, Coriander is one of the most improved drivers over the last couple of years. Has had some really good, strong runs both on the oval and in road course competition as well. So for him to be able to come home here P2, I think he's really committed himself to what we're seeing here, which has been exciting here on the iRacing platform, sim racing. Good run for him, of course, to P2. We'll get a chance to talk, of course, to Andre Castro here as well. Let's see if we can bring Andre in. Indeed. Andre Castro, Rob Howden here joining us in the broadcast room. Congratulations. That was a workout. You had to come from deep in the field, past a lot of cars, and finally able to get into a last lap battle with Corey Enders. A lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, that was insane. That was probably my best race of the series, just coming from 16th and coming up. I really couldn't believe it because it was just such a big mess of cars the first like 2 or 3 laps. And like after the first lap, you're all disoriented. You don't really know what's going on. And then I saw Phil and Braden right in front of me, so I was like, okay, I have a chance. And then I don't even know what happened to them. I know Phil got a penalty, but then it was just all about keeping it clean, and I think I had some pretty good pace. So yeah, I thought this would be the perfect outcome. I don't know how likely I thought it would be, but feels really good to get first win on a road course and sort of a home track here in my home state. So yeah, really fun.
That's it, right? You grew up karting over at Oakland Valley Raceway Park, not that far from Watkins Glen. But I want to ask you a quick question. And I know we're kind of running out of time here, but a lot of drivers having big time trouble coming through the bus stop. What was it about that particular corner that struggled with this particular car?
I mean, these cars are just really skittish over bumps. So it seems like once you get the front tires high enough in the air, it bounces and it just won't stop bouncing when you hit the ground. So if you get high enough in the air, there's no saving it pretty much because you're just going to keep bouncing until you spin out. But no, I just had a really shallow angle going in that first race passing Phil and got over the curb too much. But yeah, the second race is really perfect and man, feels really good. Thanks to the team, thanks to Legacy for having me on, even though I haven't driven a real USF car in a couple of years. Really cool to have me to be on board with Legacy in the series and Metalloid, obviously, for everything they do with the team. So, yeah, really cool.
Andre, congratulations on a fantastic win, backing up that victory at Lucas Oil Raceway. Good luck next week. We go back to the Oval at Iowa. Hopefully you can have a good run there as well.
Sounds good, Rob. Thanks so much.
Well, Jonathan, Andre Castro, tremendous run. He's had some ups and downs. I don't think any other driver in the program has had as many highs or lows as Andre Castro has over these last races. But man, he's kind of on a roll right now, and I expect him to be good when we get to Iowa Speedway.
Yep, so the next race will be at Iowa. Back to an oval, the third one of the season, of course, and here it is. It's going to be a 0.88-mile D-shaped oval. There is tri-shaped ovals. We've got ovals in general. We've got a lot of them available. This will be an interesting one. The racing should be a lot similar to what we've seen at Gateway, a bit of a higher speed oval compared to Lucas Oil. Looking forward to that one, Rob. Again, Andre Castro should be favorite. He's a bit of an oval specialist around there.
Well, in years past, we had Indy Lights running at Iowa Speedway. We won't be there here in 2020. In fact, a couple of years ago, the USF 2000 drivers actually ran at Iowa Speedway as well. I think it's going to be a tremendous race. I like it when we go to the ovals. Gateway was amazing. I think we're going to see 2-3 wide racing. I cannot wait to cap off the season of schedule number 2 here in Newton, Iowa.
And we'll say goodbye to our Rev TV audience from Canada. You can join us for more post-race show action, of course, on our social and internet channels. Don't leave us. We've got more of the Rick Motec post-race show. We're going to speak to more of our drivers from today's event from Watkins Glen. But for now, from Canada, we'll say so long and see you at Iowa in a week's time.
It's me, your Uncle Cooper, and this is a Cooper tire. Great tire. Now, it's not going to cook you a pot roast, but it will stop when you hit the brakes. And these truck tires can stop on average 10 feet shorter than other tires on a wet road. See, the trick is in the grip, and these tires grip like my handshake. Look, I'm your uncle. I love you. I want you to stop when you need to. Doesn't matter if it's for a red light or a duckling. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! And never start something you can't stop.
You're shopping for tires online, and you have questions.
I do.
We're TireRack.com, and we have answers. And tools to help.
Like our tire decision guide. It's real easy to use.
TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.
And back here for more Rick Motec post-race show coverage. We're going to speak to Corey Enders, who came home in second. That was an awfully close finish, Corey, for you. It was one where I really hope at the end of the day you could have taken victory, but that'll have to wait in the eSeries for another time.
Yeah, it was definitely a close race, and hats off to Andre for the win. Can you guys hear me okay? Just making sure. Mic check.
Yeah, got you.
Okay, great. Yeah, so it was a really close race. Obviously, he set me up there on the last lap going into boot, which is really the only place to pass on the outside. But was really hoping I could secure the victory there. I knew it was one of us had to lift. He just held it in there a little bit deeper, and yeah, great racing to him.
And you raced here back in 2017, don't forget, back in USF 2000. You finished 7th here in a race. And for you, does this circuit bring back memories back then? Does it feel similar to the real world? Because we know iRacing do a splendid job laser scanning their circuits.
Yeah, no, it feels very, very similar. Obviously, I drove it in a USF 17, but I qualified third in this track that race, and it was obviously really nostalgic to race here again. And I'm from New York as well as Andre, so to be able to race at our technical home track, it's really, really cool.
And we just heard word that you're going to claim bonus points for the most laps led. So there is a positive despite not winning the race.
Yeah, I that's a good thing. I didn't know that. I was trying to get the fastest lap as well behind Andre, but I'm not sure if I got that. Yeah, that's great news. Hopefully next series, I can get my first win in the eSeries.
Can I spoil the party for you? For
Sure.
a second? Phil Dennis got the fastest lap. I'm sorry to say, Corey, at the end of the day.
I am not surprised. Congratulations, Phil.
Well, it was between you and Andre, to be honest with you. I think Dennis only snatched that on, if I look at the timing screen here, it could have potentially been on the final lap or second to last lap, because it was, he ended up passing Peter Dempsey in the closing stages. But anyway, focusing back on you, back to Iowa next week. How have the ovals been for you so far? We've had 2 of them. Looking forward to going back to the ovals?
So unfortunately, I haven't got to race at the ovals yet. I've been a little bit busy when the races were going on, but I'm really looking forward to getting my first eSeries race at one of the ovals. It looks like a lot of fun. I've watched both races, and I know I'm fast at the ovals, so it should be a ton of fun and kind of an even playing field as well.
Well, there you go. We'll leave you to it, Corey. And Rob just spoke to Corey Enders, who, again, claimed his best result at the eSeries. And there you go, Rob. That's me trying to manage 500 drivers, about 300 sponsors, and about 200 teams to go with it over the past 5 weeks. Not remembering that he didn't even race at an oval this season.
Well, let's give you the props there. You've done a fantastic job. Obviously, a lot of different events that you've been announcing. The supercars down south. You've been incredibly busy for sure. One guy that we do have in here with us right now, 3rd place run for Christian Brooks. Christian, congrats. A solid drive for you. Some excitement, of course. You had some issues in the opening race, but fought back to P3 here in race number 2. Walk us through that race itself. Was it fairly uneventful for you, or did you find yourself with elbows up?
Oh yeah, definitely elbows up. I think I went under probably 2 or 3 cars that were flipping right ahead of me, but it was cool to come from. I think we started 18th or 20th, and we ended up finishing 3rd. So I think Andre definitely deserved this one. He had really good pace, but yeah, in race 1 we had some issues, and I took a little too much curve, and it spun me out. And to come back from last and still end up with the podium feels pretty good.
We had a lot of drivers struggling coming through that bus stop part of the racetrack. I think that was pretty tough. Usually the second apex guys struggled with. Did it catch you out a little bit? Is that essentially what guys were dealing with?
Yeah, well, I feel like I really straightened up my hands before I hit the curb, and it still loops me. Probably just a bit too low on the ride height with this setup, but either way, it was a good race. And I mean, in race 2, I didn't have any problems, so I'm not trying to make any excuses. But yeah, I definitely used a little too much curve, and once I bottomed out, I just had no control.
You'll be a rookie this year in USF 2000 with Exclusive Auto Sports. Can you talk a little bit about how important this particular program is? You're getting a chance to, number one, race side by side. It's virtually, but race side by side with some guys you're going to race against. You're getting a chance to build, the relationships with your team, with other drivers in the series. Do you feel it's been a pretty big positive in terms of how you're going to be able to perform when we go back racing?
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to help me out, especially not ever competing at some of the tracks that we're going to this year. In iRacing, I can just hop on and actually race with the guys that I'm going to be racing on the same track. So it definitely gives you an idea of who's going to be quick. I mean, we already know that, but yeah, there's guys in iRacing that are extremely quick. Like Phil and Andre have been definitely playing this game, and Braden have been playing this game for a long time, and it really takes everything out of me to try to hang with them. So I like how it pushes me, and I'm kind of new to the whole sim thing, but I'm getting used to it, and I enjoy it a lot.
So we're going to go run Iowa next Wednesday. That is going to be flat out. It's going to be 2-3 wide. What do you think about heading to Iowa?
Oh, I'm excited for it. I think there's bound to be a little more carnage, simply because you're coming up at the wall and maybe with a little bit of understeer, just trying to hold on to it. So, yeah, I probably should start practicing some ovals. I don't think I've ever done an oval race in iRacing yet. So it was a bummer I had to miss on the ovals previous this season, but I'm glad that I can get back out on one and see how we do.
We're going to have some rookies out there. You and Corey Enders have not yet run in an oval race. I think Iowa will be interesting for you guys. Now, one final question. You've been out doing some karting, which is awesome. Obviously, getting a chance to go race with your team, Nash Motorsports. How much are you looking forward to finally getting into a car? We're set to go, second weekend of July at Road America. It's got to be eating at you. You haven't been able to go racing yet.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we were so ready to go racing. We did all our preseason testing and everything was looking good. All our cars were really fast. I think we ended up all our cars basically in the top 3 in all categories at the preseason test. So we were definitely looking strong. We were looking like we were going to have a really good result, but we had to put things on hold, get as much training as we can on the simulator, and really it's been nice to spend some time with the family as well. So I'm not complaining. I'm just glad that we're finally getting back on track. And I think it's actually going to be pretty cool that we're just going back to back to back, racing. So I love how everybody's fitting everything into this weird pandemic at the end of the year. So yeah, I'm really excited, and I think it's going to be a really good time.
Christian, congrats on a good run here. P3, your iRacing oval debut here in the Road Data eSeries next week at Iowa. Thanks for joining us here. And again, congrats on a great run.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob.
So, Jonathan, pretty tremendous drive by Christian Brooks. As we said, he hasn't had a lot of seat time. Had some trouble before getting, like many guys, getting their sim rig set up. But I think it could be interesting to see what he's able to do at Iowa. Like I said, still the number 3 ranked driver, Carter, in the nation by ekartingnews.com, my website. This guy is a badass. Been getting out and doing some karting. I think when we go racing again, he's going to be one to watch for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going to speak to Jacob Loomis now. Jacob, we got you over there?
Yeah, I got you.
What an incredible first race for you. The second race was probably a little one to forget, obviously, but hey, brilliant pace at Watkins Glen, and you kept it clean for the first race. Unfortunately, just missed out on your podium as Braden Eves thought he wanted to claim some championship points himself.
Yeah, I was a little bummed after the first race, but I really can't be disappointed with that drive. Coming from mid-pack all the way to 4th, I think was pretty good. The draft helped me a lot. I think I was still quite a bit off the pace of like Phil and the front guys, but I just kind of stayed clean and stayed consistent. And I made a mistake at the end. I thought that I could draft past Braden on that straight, and he definitely knew exactly what I was doing because I could hear him lifting down that straight just so he knew that I couldn't get back around him. So well played to him, and yeah, I'll take 4th place.
And talking about your pace here, is this a one-off for you? Have you put in some time to improve? Do you think there was a bit of luck on your side, or do you think you can carry this good form coming to the ovals?
Yeah, I think so. This track, I just don't drive much on iRacing, and to be honest, I was out of town all week at a race, so I really didn't get a whole lot of running here. So I think if I put some time in at the oval, I'll definitely stay up front for sure.
And going into, as I said, going into Iowa, it's another oval coming up for you. Obviously, you're in this series for a bit of fun right now, but how brilliant is it being having your partners involved? BN Racing 2 is getting you an opportunity to race in the virtual environment. I'm sure you can't wait to get back to real world racing, mate.
Yeah, I really can't. And hopefully soon we'll have some legitimate announcements for this season, and I'm really looking forward to actually getting back on track in a proper Indy Pro.
And finally, anybody you'd like to thank coming out of Watkins Glen after this round?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my sponsor Optima Anesthesia, and as well as Linear Edge. They come on board for the virtual series, so I'm super thankful for them, and of course Road to Indy and all the guys that helped put this on. It's a great and fun event.
All right, we'll leave you to it, Jacob. A tremendous result for yourself, and we'll look at the championship standings now because Rob Howden Jacob will claim some good points from race number 1, and it should climb him up a few positions. You can see him there in the 7th position, the top BN racing driver. But the real talk of the town is between Phil Dennis and Braden Eves. That's going to be one to discuss heading into the final round. Mathematically, the championship continues between those two, but Phil Dennis is in prime position to claim his 2nd successive series title.
Well, it's been interesting kind of how the storylines have played out for Philippe Dennis. You know, there's been times he's been dominant where he's been able to get out front and grab that lead and kind of walk away. But then there's other events like we saw at Worldwide Technology Raceway, the Oval at Gateway, where he had the issue in the opening race, which kind of opened the door for everybody. And then he storms back from dead last and is able to work his way to the victory. That run across the line, the photo finish, he gets that win. So he's been able to come back. Even today, when he had the issue, as we said, with a drive-through penalty, moved him back, he was able to slip past Peter Dempsey and somehow come up with a 5th place finish. So he's really been able to kind of manufacture results when he's had issues, but then, of course, has those highs of the victories he was able to get earlier in the season. Now, I'll say this, though. Obviously, Philippe's a guy that could easily go for the championship here. He almost got cleaned out this particular weekend. Remember, he didn't get a victory at Lucas Oil Raceway. He almost got shut out here this weekend as well. Very lucky to get that victory. Not so much lucky, but a lot of guys had issues in the first race. He was able to sneak one through. But that's one win in 4 races.
Well, you're right. I mean, think back to Gateway. Didn't have the best of events at Gateway for at least the first race. Did win, obviously, the second race. It fared very well for him there. But the first one, he was involved in some contact and made his way through the field for the second event to take victory. Now, final things before we go, Rob. We got Tire Rack on board, Cooper Tires as well. iRacing's our simulator of choice. Symmetric Driver Performance Labs, TSOladder.com. The partners don't stop ending here, do they? We're probably going to even have more, I reckon, for the next season, whenever that may take place. But the most important part right now, I think everyone's focusing on is the real world, and that's going back to real racing hopefully soon enough.
Yeah, I think everybody's super excited about the opportunity to be able to go to Road America. You know, Wisconsin, one of the states in the U.S., which has opened up quite a bit. They'll actually have, I think, 4 races before we even get there for our event with the NTT IndyCar Series. The SCCA will run their June sprints. There'll be Moto America as well. The motorcycle race, the GP, will be there as well. So a number of events happening before we get there, which ideally means we may even race in front of fans, I think, at Road America as well. They call it America's National Park of Speed. It's huge. Sprawling landscape enough that social distancing won't be the hardest thing to do. There's lots of fence line for people to share to be able to stay away from each other. So I think that everybody's absolutely dying. And I know the race teams are absolutely dying to be able to get back to the racetrack. So cross our fingers that we're just maybe a month and a bit away from getting back at it. We've got our schedule. It's kind of in flux right now. There's a lot going on behind the scenes to find out where we're going to plug in. We do know that we're going to cap the season off at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg in late October. Yes. So that's where we'll have our finale. A lot of races in between there. We're going to have a lot of triple headers, Jonathan. Not only are the drivers going to be tired, I'm going to be tired as well. I'm going to be calling probably 9 races a weekend. So it'll be fun. People are dying to get back. But this particular program here on iRacing with Apex Racing TV and TireRack.com has been tremendous. And I think, Jonathan, can probably echo this. This is going to lead to more stuff, more iRacing, more sim racing opportunities within the Road to Indy program as well, the ladder system. There's a lot of talk behind the scenes as well about how we can continue to leverage what we've been able to do here in the off season between 2020 and 2021. So I think this has been probably one of the biggest positives of the entire pandemic.
Well, look at the fans over at Watkins Glen at the moment. They're not getting tired at all, Rob. So they're, I think, sticking. Do they expect that there's going to be a third race? Someone's going to tell these virtual fans I'm watching on screen anyway.
Well, it's Watkins Glen, Jonathan. They all hang out at the end of the races anyway. There's still beer to drink. Come on.
Yeah. I think I see a few kegs in the stands somewhere. Yeah. By the way, this is the Zippo 200, I think, from like 10 years ago. So they're still there from 10 years ago. But anyway, the action will return next week at Iowa. That will be on the 3rd of June in a week's time. Same time slot as usual here on a Wednesday night for the Road to Indy Rick Motec eSeries. Now, sorry, Rob, I was about to say Thursday morning, but I got to remember this is Australia over here with my bright sunlight. So there you go. This is Iowa, which we will be visiting to. It'll host the final round for Series 2 of the Tire Rack Road to Indy iRacing eSeries presented by Cooper Tires. That's our Rick Motec post-race show wrapped up. That is everything wrapped up from today's event. Check out our partners as well at their associated websites. Spread the word as well if you've been enjoying the coverage. But from myself, Jonathan Simon, we will see you next week, along with Rob Howden and the entire team behind the scenes. It's going to be a crack-up. Who's going to win the championship? Will it be the Surgeon, Phil Dennis, or Exclusive Autosports, Braden Eves?
Can I?
Use our tire decision guide to pick the right tires for you? Yes.